One of the things that I've discovered for myself over the course of, I guess you could probably say 7 years since I started doing this work, maybe 8 years actually, thinking about it, is that essentially when it comes to manifestation, you cannot, and I want to really underline this here, you cannot manifest anything that you are demonizing or that you are demonizing yourself for desiring to experience. Okay, really, 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 really simple concept to get your head around, but in actual fact, most people don't even realize where they're demonizing things because of stuff to do with their childhood, stuff they learned at school, stuff that they've picked up from their peer group, stuff that they've picked up from society and societal behaviours and the media, and so on. Okay, and the majority of demonization is due to conditioning. And I guess, if I was to look at this really kind of square in the face, the majority of my work that I do with people who haven't been directly traumatized by experiences that they've had at some point in their life, which has caused them to contract, to shrink, to make themselves unavailable for a lot of things that on the soul level they would dearly love to experience. The meat and potatoes of the rest of my work, when I work with people, is actually breaking through what I'm going to call the demonization barriers that people have set up that they don't even realize that they're carrying. And it's crazy. And you might think to yourself listening to this, oh, but Liz, I don't do that. But in actual fact, if you have been brought up with any form of religious or spiritual rhetoric being thrown at you by anybody, then you will be guaranteed, because the very nature of religion and mainstream spirituality, as I'm going to call it, is to create duality, polarity, judgment, all of the things that in actual fact, if you were to look more deeply into any of the religious texts that are out there, for example, the Bible, and look at some of the codes that are inherent in these texts that people misinterpret all the time, you would see very, very clearly that a lot of what the religious and spiritual and whatever community, the people that claim to represent these texts and they preach and teach about them, a lot of what they say doesn't actually match up, and this is a whole wider subject as well, with what's actually in those books. Do you see what I'm saying? For example, you could look at the example of the Christian far right in the States and the amount of judgment and division and so on and so forth they mete out whilst claiming to be representative of Jesus Christ, yada, 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 whatever prefix you want to add on to the name. And yet what they're teaching is exactly opposite to what he represented in his lifetime, or the allegory of his lifetime. I don't, at the end of the day, I'm not here to tell you whether he existed or didn't exist, but the allegory around his whole thing was love, acceptance, inclusion, unity. And yet we have people representing him, supposedly, who are all about judgment, hellfire, damnation, actually really Old Testament concepts if you look at it, and very, very clearly creating this split between good and bad, light and dark, heaven and hell, yada, yada, yada. In actual fact, kind of, I'm going to say this, more representative of what the Council of Nicene were angling at when they heavily edited the Bible and manipulated the texts in order to create a tool of control for population for the masses. And because this has been like a backstory for humanity for centuries, millennia, essentially what we're looking at is the fact that people carry within their intergenerational whatnot, as you could call it, this idea of things being bad or good, which is so deeply ingrained and that they're so heavily conditioned by that it's completely unconscious, but it's still there in the background running stuff. Essentially, we've got this whole thing of people taking the judgment and all the rest of it, and it's massively internalized, and it means that they're cutting themselves off from the things that they dearly want to experience at soul level. So you have then this whole thing of being a soul that's connected to a body which is carrying intergenerational whatnot that is literally preventing you from being and doing and having the things that you've come here to be, do and have. Do you see what I'm saying? So the first thing you ever need to tackle when it comes to manifestation is quite simply asking yourself the question and listening inwards for the answer, not asking someone outside of you. Am I demonizing this thing that I want on any level? Am I demonizing myself for wanting it? And if you get a yes, then you're understanding immediately why that thing, even though you're doing all the manifestation techniques and all of the things, isn't showing up in your life. It's really, really, really that simple. Now, when it comes down to actually clearing that stuff up, this is the meat and potatoes of what I do when I'm working with people. And when people work with me, they see stuff shift and change so fast. It doesn't take ages to do this stuff, no matter what you might have been led to believe by anybody. It takes no time at all once the actual root cause of the issues is properly dealt with energetically. But if you don't do that, you'll go around in circles for ages, because that's what happens. But it is as simple as getting that massive amount of clarity on the fact that you are holding yourself apart from this thing because you have made it bad, wrong, or evil on some level without even realizing it. And therefore you have what's commonly known as cognitive dissonance, okay? So this is that 95% of your brain that you don't have direct conscious access to, that's going, no, not for me, no thank you. I have been taught by my cells and my DNA and all the other things that this is wrong. I've been taught by society that I'm not allowed to want this because it will make me a bad person, or it's related to a trauma of some sort. But yeah, bottom line, if you're demonizing something, you're not going to allow yourself to experience it, because why would your nervous system and the rest of you allow you to have something that you would perceive to make you bad, evil, or wrong? Do you see? So yeah, it is as simple as that. And I do apologise for the fact that I have neighbours drilling in the background that you might be able to hear. But this is something that needs to be said, and I'm recording it anyway because it needs to be said. You need to hear it. If you're listening to this now, it has relevance to you, which basically means pretty much everyone on the planet needs to hear this, because I can guarantee you there's barely anyone out there who's not demonising something that they want in some way, form, shape or other. Okay? And I know that my job, when I understand these things, is to underline them and put them in people's faces so that they can understand for themselves where they have been fucking shooting themselves in the foot. Do you see? I keep saying, do you see? Do you see? Do you hear? Do you understand? It's your job to see, hear and understand what I'm saying, because it's to your benefit to know yourself better. And I'm all about the know thyself stuff with my work, with the way that I work with clients, with myself. My biggest desire in this lifetime is to know myself. And when I'm talking about knowing myself, I'm not talking about as a fixed point in space and time, because we fluctuate with that all the time, but actually to not be in denial about how I am creating or not creating or failing to create, or however you want to look at it, and to assist other people who are essentially butting their head up against a brick wall for whatever reason, to actually get to the bottom of it and chuck that shit in the bin so that they can actually free flow into the things that they know are for them, even if they haven't been showing up, even if they're on the verge of giving up. If that's you, and you are at your wit's end, basically, because there's something that you've dreamt of for a long time and you've been trying to manifest it, but it just hasn't been happening, and you're confused and you don't have the clarity, and you've been trying the techniques and it hasn't been working, then the chances are you would benefit massively from working with me. But, before you even get to that bit, understand the fact that when you're wanting something, when you have this burning desire inside of you to experience something, that desire is not coming from nowhere. That desire is coming from your soul. It's just that you've got shit in the way that's stopping you from accessing it, that's stopping you from experiencing it. And it really is as simple as actually understanding that and not going, oh, well, God obviously didn't mean it for me, or any of that other shit that people come out with that's really not helpful. So yeah, start off, ask yourself, am I demonizing the thing that I desire the most? And I will add in right now, if you are one of these people that has been having trouble with money, with business ideas, with soul purpose and purpose work and all of that stuff, then you could do a lot worse than signing up for my Money Magnate course, which is $555 worth of content, basically, for $37. It is the thing that I've created that helps you to get unstuck and get shit moving and get you clear as fuck on what it is that you're here for and what it is that you need to do next and what it is that's going on with you around money stuff and all of that. It's a course that's designed specifically for this, and the people that do it get results. Anyhow, that's all I need to say for now. I'm sending you so much love. If you want to know about the Money Magnate course, you can find details of how to sign up for it in my link tree, which is in the bio stuff around here somewhere, wherever you're listening to this. And I'll be back with more pithy insights into life, the universe, and manifestation imminently. Sending you so much love. Mwah.